Hello everyone, welcome to this week's instructional video. It will actually be a little bit shorter than usual as I'm actually going to highlight one of the main things that we are also going to go over in a virtual class this week. So here I have Module 4 in front of you. And right down here you'll see the triangles and angles practice test. That's what we're going to focus on. And when you select the practice test, you're going to end up on this page. Please make sure you read all of the directions carefully. Please do note here that in red it says it is not required actually to submit anything for the practice test unless you would like specific feedback from me before you complete your actual test. So we will of course be spending the time in virtual class on this, so in order for you to participate you're going to want to take a look at this ahead of time and contribute some of your own thinking, ask valuable questions, and things of that nature. Once you get to the actual worksheet or activity here, it'll look something like this. Again, you're going to want to print it out if that's a possibility. Open up this file in another piece of software such as OneNote, Notability. Even the Notes app on something like an iPhone would work relatively well, although you'd probably want it on a bigger screen. And your job is to work through this interesting picture here where we have parallel lines that are cut by a transversal, and actually more than one transversal, to see if you can't use skills from throughout the topic to find all of the missing pieces of information. So I just wanted you to see what this would look like, and also give you an example or two of some of the skills you might be able to use, some of the vocabulary that might be helpful in helping you identify some of the missing information. So we'll take a look at that to start us off. So first, what are some of those ideas you'll want to have in mind as you try to fill in these missing pieces of information? You're going to want to keep in mind ideas like vertical angles and adjacent angles. You're going to want to review what are complementary versus supplementary angles. You're going to want to think about the triangle angle sum theory and the exterior angle sum theory, and of course we'd want to add in what we know about transversals and how they cross parallel lines, and how we have congruent pairs such as corresponding angles, and we have alternate exterior angles, and so on and so forth. But those are some of the big ideas that you're going to want to take forward. And I'm going to start here just at this intersection, just to show you how you might want to start applying some of those ideas. So as we get a little bit closer here, and it'll be valuable for you to consider perhaps one section of the picture at a time, rather than looking at the whole thing, which can be a little overwhelming. As I start looking at this first intersection, I'm trying to identify pairs or special types of angles that I recognize. One such option would be to look at the given angle, the one that's labeled 52 degrees, and then angle 1 right next to it. Because when I look at the two of these, I do notice that they come together to form a straight angle, which of course means that they're supplementary. And we know that supplementary means that they have a sum of 180 degrees, and that might be one useful way for you to start by finding angle 1. Of course, that's only one way to find angle 1, but might be one type of idea that you might start with. Next, you might stay at the same intersection and again focus on the fact that you know the given angle, 52 degrees, and recognize that vertical angles are formed anytime we have two lines that intersect, which means that the given angle would be vertical with angle 4. And if you remember from last week, you would know that vertical angles, or angles that are opposite of each other on a vertex in this situation, are automatically congruent, so you would then know the size of angle 4. And at that point you might realize that things start to snowball, and the more pieces of information you get, the more you might feel like you know as you work through the rest of the picture. But I wanted you guys to see this ahead of time so you'd be able to recognize that you can use things like vertical angles and information about supplementary angle pairs to help you. Also keep in mind that you do have several triangles that exist, and that might be a helpful piece of information to keep in mind. While we have triangles, again, also notice that some angles then make exterior angles with our triangles, and we know that those have special relationships with the remote interior angles, so there's another skill set you can use. And even thinking past that, of course, we recognize that we do have some parallel lines that are cut by a transversal, and you'd only need to consider one transversal at a time to recognize that you might have things like corresponding angles. You might even have something such as alternate interior angles that you could look at. So keep in mind that there are a few skills that can be helpful in a variety of different ways, but there are also ways for you to practice all of the skills that we have learned when talking about angles and triangles. So hopefully this gives you some things to think about and something to start with as you work on that practice test. Again, make sure that you have at least started this, if not attempted the whole thing, before you come to virtual class. Good luck with that, and we'll talk to you guys soon.